All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Manufacturing E-commerce Success Series. I'm your co-host, Damon Pistolka, and man, do we have an exciting episode today. I can't even hardly contain myself, which is even more than normal. But my friend over here, Kurt Anderson, co-host, brother from another mother, is going to take it over from here. Kurt, let's do this.
Hey, thank you, Damon. What an absolute honor, privilege, Damon. We are interviewing a true legend. And entrepreneurial icon. And the thing is, when you introduce somebody, and usually there's a long list of how you're, all the accomplishments. 2 words will introduce our guest today and describe our guest: Reebok founder. Reebok founder. That's all that needs to be said. Joe Foster, Thank you for joining us today. What an honor. What a privilege. How are you, my friend?
Well, thank you, Kurt. I'm pretty well. Yeah, we travel a lot, but I'm pretty good. And thank you for the invitation. And yes, ready to go when you are.
Well, let's just, I know we're on a tight schedule, and you and your wife, Julie, thank you, Julie, for setting this up. What an honor and privilege again for us to spend time with you today. And you left Norway yesterday. You're in Iceland today. And so I know you just don't know how to slow down. So let's just take a dive right in, Joe.
Yep.
So Joe, your footwear goes back into your family for generations. You and your brother Jeff founded Reebok in 1958. Now, I know I'd like to go back in time. Granddad Joe founded J.W. Foster, I believe, 1895. Phenomenal history of providing footwear for Olympic athletes. And there's a little connection with the movie Chariots of Fire. Can you let's hear a little bit about Granddad Joe?
Well, Granddad Joe was born in 1880. And by the time he was 15, he decided he would make himself a pro of spike running shoes. Why? Some people say he invented the spike running shoe. He developed it, whatever. But he got the idea from his grandfather. Can you believe that? His grandfather. But his grandfather was a cobbler. And as a cobbler, he didn't only repair street shoes, he repaired cricket boots. And cricket boots in those days, they had spikes in the bottom. And we're pretty sure Granddad said, "Oh, Granddad, why have these got spikes in the bottom?" Well, it gives them grip. And, when you're playing, you're bowling, you're batting, you're in the field, you need to have that grip. This obviously was nice. It was a light bulb moment for my grandfather because he was a runner, not a very good runner, but, middle of the field. And he thought, wow, if I put some spikes in the bottom of a pair of shoes, maybe that'll give me grip. And, it did. And he came a very unlikely second in his next race. And, of course, he was a small lad, a bit like me, 5'6", 5'7", whatever it was. And most of his teammates were a bit bigger than him. So I think it was a choice between making shoes for his teammates or taking sort of the fact that he cheated. and I don't think that would have gone down well. So that was the start of his business at 15 years old. By the time we come to 1900, he'd actually established himself as a business. And he was making running shoes. He was a cobbler as well, but his other business was running shoes, and that became the big business. That overtook, and soon he was not a cobbler anymore. And by 1904, he had 3 world records in his shoes, in Joe Foster's shoes, and that was Shrub. Broke 3 world records in Glasgow in one event. And then by 1908, he had gold medals. In London, he got gold medals. So he's going places, really going places. But, the second decade of the 20th century, we have World War II.
Yeah.
No more running shoes. They don't want running shoes. They want army boots. And Fosters were not really set up to make army boots, but they could repair them. And my father used to tell me the story that they would scrub the mud and the blood of Flanders off the boots before they could repair them. So they repaired boots during that World War I. Mm-hmm. However, we come to 1920 and the 20s. That was my grandfather's belly pock. Yeah. And we have a letterhead. And on this letterhead, it just say that J.W. Foster supplied all the athletes at the Antwerp Olympic Games in 1920. Well, we're talking track and field because there was nothing more than track and field in those days. Mm-hmm. And we're probably talking about British athletes rather than the world. Although I know he had customers in America, so I know he supplied a lot of people. So he had that. He also had 96 football teams, soccer teams that you would call them, all the Premier League. They all played in Foster's boots and trained in Foster's shoes. 96 teams, and he lists these down. So if you buy the Shoemaker book from us in the UK, we can send that with this as an extra, this letterhead. We've now duplicated, and it's amazing. Yeah. But anyway, during the 20s, we had 3 athletes. One, Eric Liddell, the other one was Harold Abrams, and Lord Burley. All 3 won gold medals during the 20s, and all 3 are immortalized now in Chariots of Fire. And they were wearing Joe Foster's shoes. Unfortunately, my grandfather, he died in 1933. And I wasn't born until 1935, 15 months after he died, but I was born on his birthday. Mm-hmm. So wow, this is why I am called Joe as well. My grandmother said he's brought his name with him. So that was it. I became Joe Foster, probably Joe Foster number 2, but I became Joe Foster as well. And so that was grandfather, but what a genius. And how he business. And I know in his days, he said the world's largest hand-sewn athletic shoe manufacturer, because it was hand-sewn in those days. So it was, and I think also it said Foster's famous running shoes. Those were their advertising strap lines.
Right. Wow. This is awesome. So Joe, first off, I want to you have a lot of the comments are coming here, and we have a live audience here. So guys, give Joe a big hello. You want to connect with Joe here on LinkedIn. Most importantly, I dropped Joe's book in the link. He has an amazing book called The Shoemaker. Damon, you got it right there. The Shoemaker. You guys, you want to go, please, thank me later. Go out and get Joe's book. It is a powerful story. And Joe, what I love what you're sharing with your grandfather, and I want to lead up to your situation. Your grandfather was so phenomenal. He really kind of like what we talk about, like influencers of today. Your grandfather was going after the influencers, the running clubs and so on and so forth. Just brilliant marketing. And he was 15, 20 years old. That is astounding of what he accomplished at such a young age.
Yes. Yeah, when he started, he was young. But he obviously picks up on the fact that if he wanted athletes to wear his shoes, and we have a lot of the advertising. We spent some time digging into this, and he used to put little adverts in that saying that if you don't think that Jedward Fosters are the best running shoes you've ever worn, we'll give you £100. And £100 in those days, it might be worth now £10,000. So it was outrageous that. And he used to have all the people that ran in his shoes. So he used influencing. Unfortunately for my grandfather, he could only influence people who performed. Now influencers perform street. So now, sport footwear is now the fashion brand. It's the fashion influence. We're all fashion companies now. But in his day, he really made a name within the performance sports.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Well, Joe, in your book is absolutely astounding. I have a quote here. You open up the book with this line. It's absolutely hysterical. I have 2 confessions to make. Number 1, I don't like running. And number 2, I'm a lousy shoemaker. So I appreciate your humility. I thought that was absolutely hysterical as you wrote that. Now, I will say you are a gifted storyteller. Your attention to detail from 50, 60 years ago and how you went back and discovered all these things on Granddad is absolutely astounding. Now, I will say, I think you kind of figured out this business thing. So maybe you're not good at running, and maybe you're a lousy shoemaker using your words, but I think you figured out this business thing. Damon, did you know guys, you know the odds of building a $1 billion company? 0.00006. Joe, how did you do it?
Well, I think we did it by sheer bloody-mindedness and staying with it. It was just keeping going. At times, it was necessary you just got to try again. Because, to get to the success we did, and we became number 1, to get there, you fail so many times. Failure, and you get so many problems. Yes, we started off in 1958, but we started as Mercury Sports Footwear. And 18 months into our business, our accountant, he thought we were doing very well and we should register that name. We tried to register it, but it was already pre-registered. And I went to see the agent, and he said, well, you can buy it because they're not using it. And this was British Shoe Corporation. And I said, well, how much do they want for it? I said, £1,000. Well, We just put our small factory together for £250.
Yeah.
So, and that was a whole factory for us. In those days we could buy second-hand machinery very cheap. So we didn't have £1,000, and we couldn't convince our bank manager that our name was worth £1,000. So the agent said, "Well, you'll have to bring me in. Don't have to change the name." He said, "But don't bring me one. I need 10." And I'm stunned. I said, "Look, we've got to be in love with this name. It's got to be our passion. We've got to be behind it." And he said, "Well, can't help that. Bring me 10 because I've got to put them all through the register. And you don't want to do these one at a time. It might take you 12 months at one at a time to actually get one. So bring me 10. And he pointed through his window and he pointed to Kodak. And I'm saying, "What's with Kodak?" And he said, "They made up the name. And if you make a name up, it's yours. That's easy. Just in one from anywhere, you've got to put it through the register." So we go back and we're sitting down and I'm saying, I went Falcon Sport. Falcon, yeah, that's a good name. Falcon Sport. Yeah, okay, put that on the list. Cheetah, yeah. Cheetah, okay, put that on the list. Okay, but let me take you back to 1943. I'm 8 years old. And, like COVID stopped everything. Well, World War II. This was the middle of World War II. We couldn't do anything. But we only had some local events. And I was entered into a 60-yard local event race. And I won. Secret weapon, I lost the spikes. But I won. And I got to collect my prize. And what do I get? A dictionary. Yeah. And I'm 8 years old. And I'm saying, "Guys, where's the football?" What can I do with the dictionary? I know more than that. It was an American dictionary at the time. No, but it was a Webster's American dictionary. And since American spellings are slightly different than English spellings on some things, like you miss out in America. But so anyway, fast forward now, 1960. We're looking for a new name. I love the letter R. And my dictionary is sat there next to me, my Webster's American Dictionary. So I open it at the letter R and I thumb through. Very soon I come across RWBOK. Reebok, what's that? It's a small South African gazelle. Wow, we're a running company. Gazelle, it's got to be it. That's got to be it. I put that top of the list, took it to the agent. The agent's a lawyer. He's not impressed. Okay, so you want that? Right, yes, please. Anyway, it took him a week to check all these things through, and he came back and said, "You've got your wish. Reebok is the one that's clearest of anything." The registrar, he made a comment that if anybody is making shoes from Reebok skin, you can't stop them. Well, Jeff and I looked at each other and said, "It's never going to happen." We'll take Reebok. Yeah, we're going with Reebok. However, because of that, the registrar said, "No, you have to go into Part B of the register." We didn't care. We didn't know what Part B was, but we got in Part B of the register. It was 10 years later. The registrar came back and said, "We moved it to Part A." Oh, okay, that's fine. Why? Well, everybody now knows that Reebok is a sports shoe, and the animal is come second. But that's what we got. That was our first real challenge.
Yeah.
But what we learned from that was that, if you take these as problems and you worry about it, that's doing no good. What you got to do is to think, how can we improve? Can we take a challenge as an opportunity? And so we thought that in the end, Mercury was a nice name for us, but Reebok, we thought Reebok was much stronger, much better. And we only need to go to 4 years into our business when we got a letter from Adidas. And the Adidas lawyers said, our silhouette was two bars, the T-bar. So 2 stripes and a T-bar. Adidas, of course, is 3 stripes. And the Adidas lawyers said that they thought that infringed their 3 stripes. Well, maybe for 5 minutes, we just stood and scratched our heads and thought, "Oh, my God." Then we sort of said, "Just a minute. Adidas know we're here. We're a small company, but Adidas written as a letter. Wow, that's great. What do we do?" Well, just change our silhouette. Let's change our silhouette. We don't want to fight them, no. And so we changed to the Vector, which we see today, and which we again thought, well, this is a better silhouette than the previous one. So it was from that. When you say, how do you do it? Well, we learned that you take a problem. In fact, you almost expect problems and anticipate them, because this means you've got an opportunity. And an opportunity to do something better. So we did. We thought that the name was better. Now the silhouette is better, and we pinned that letter on the wall, and it stood there for a long, long time.
Oh, I bet.
So that's absolutely phenomenal. So guys, I want to unpack a couple of things that you just said, Joe. So to put this in perspective, Joe's 22, 23 years old, 2 years out of the service. You served your country proudly, Joe. And you and your brother, Jeff, decide to break away from the family business. You start your own company at 22 or 23. You immediately go through this name challenge. Now, Damon, Joe, I have a little secret to tell you guys. Joe, do you recognize this right here?
Oh, right. Yes, that's one of Foster's.
Look at that right there, Damon.
But,
so yeah. I may be the worst rugby player that's ever played in American rugby. I just want to make that claim. If anybody's worse than me, I feel sorry for them. But these are from 30 years ago, and they're still going strong. And so, Joe, I just wanted to show those to you. So that Reebok brand has been going on forever. But in 1958, you and your brother, at a young age, you start your company, and you started immediately facing challenges. You were living in the factory. You were starting a family. I mean, you're facing all sorts of challenges. Let's fast forward a little bit. 1968, you're 32 years old. You decide to come to America. You felt that, boy, I need to get over the pond and crack the door to the American market. Can you talk about what was going on in 1968? Now you're at 32 years old, still extremely young, fighting tenaciously. What was that like on that trajectory of coming here to the States?
Well, I was very well aware that in the States you have college, you have universities, and coach is very important. He's almost God, and so every college wanted product. Even WWII in the 50s, they had an agreement with Yale. It was Bob G and Jack and Frank Bryan. They were the coaches, and they were buying 200 pair of Foster's shoes every month, and they, of course, were selling them on to other people. But so I knew that there was a big market there, and you look at the UK, and we used to compare America with the UK. And America, if you put America as 100, the UK came in something like 15. Germany came about 25, and Japan was about 25, maybe 30. So the size of the market was and the problem that we had, soccer. By the time Jeff and myself set up our company, Adidas had come into the UK and they'd taken soccer. So for us to get into soccer, which was the big market, for us to do that would have cost so much. We just couldn't have gone in there. That's why we concentrated on athletics, and we also did rugby. But rugby was a North of England game, so we still had that. But I knew that athletics and running in America was big. Okay, so I talked to the family. No, that's going to cost too much money to go to America. We can't do that. Okay, we can't do that. Because Jeff and I had come to an agreement. Jeff loved the factory. As I said, I'm a lousy shoemaker, but Jeff, he loved the factory. And so he said, Joe, look after the factory. You do everything else. Well, okay, I'll do everything else. What does that mean? Well, it's everything else. We do. So I take up this challenge, which is marketing, because we protested to our father and uncle that you need to market the brand. You need to do something more. You need to have new designs. And so I thought, okay, that's a challenge now. I've challenged them. They didn't do it. So I had to go and do it. So I go out in the car and I'm calling up on small sports shops. In those days, they were all small sports shops. I'm calling in and I said, I'm Reebok. And they say, who? Reebok. And then they're saying, okay, that's right. I show them the product. Love your product. But why do I need your product? I've got Adidas and I've got Dunlop. Why do I need Reebok? That was a very important question for me. And that challenged me in different ways. And so we built our UK business by going direct to athletes. Now, that's okay. But we got to a certain size and we needed America. And in 1968, I'm reading a magazine and the government are saying, we want you to export and export to America in particular. And we'll pay a stand at the NSJ show in Chicago. That's February in Chicago. We'll pay for the stand. We'll pay for your return airfare as well. And 50% of your expenses. So your hotel bill and your meals. Well, I didn't get any objection from the family at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You can go, because it was almost cheaper for me to be out there than it was to be back in the UK.
Yeah.
So yes, in the January of '68, I went to America, and the guys love the shoes, and the guys are saying, where do you get them? Well, I'm saying England, and they're saying, is that New England? And no, not New England. Oh, is that near London? It's near London. Yes, across. And I realized at that point, nobody was going to import my shoes. I needed to have my shoes there ready to buy. So I pushed. I failed. I pushed and I failed. I had at least 6 failures with people. I got the contacts there. We were trying, but we couldn't get in. But running was becoming big. And Runner's World, Bob Anderson, he was publisher of Runner's World. By 1965, he'd grown from just a single sheet, and now he was a 50-page full color, and he decided to tell everybody which was the #1 shoe. And of course, it was Nike. But, Phil Knight, what could he do? All of a sudden, there's about 3.5 million people want his shoe. And he's buying these in from Japan. Could he get the problem? Could he get them? No. By the time the supply was coming, Bob Anderson decided to put another shoe as #1. I forget which it was. It could have been New Balance, could have been Brooks, could have been Saucony. But he put another shoe. It certainly wasn't Reebok. And somebody told him, because this failed again, somebody told him, no, you can't keep doing that. The retail trade, the retailers are absolutely wild, because everybody's wanted a shoe they can't get. And when they can get it, you go and change it. So he changed this to star ratings. And a 5-star shoe, that would be the best. But there could be 3, 4, maybe more shoes that gain 5 stars. And, I knew at that point, we're not getting #1 because that was a lottery, but we could make a 5-star shoe. I knew we could make a 5-star shoe. And so I got Jeff, and we designed this, and we got Aztec. And so in 1979, I'm at the NSGA show again, and running was so big that Kmart came along, and they wanted 25,000 pairs. And that was about 6 months' work for our factory. But I knew that if we did get a 5-star shoe, we'd need to get somebody to help. And Barter, I don't know if you know Barter, they used to be the biggest shoemakers in the world. They said they'd help. However, Kmart said we want a better price. Well, that meant we had to take production to South Korea. And I'd already got connections in South Korea. So I got that covered. But the biggest problem I had with Kmart was, if we didn't satisfy the demand that they had financially for that square footage they would give us, 25,000 might be my first, but also might be my last order they would put in. But then I met Paul Fireman. Paul Fireman came on. He was running a small outdoor company, Boston Camping. And he was a bit tired of it. He'd been doing this for 10 years, and I don't think there was any opportunity to grow. So I got on well with Paul. But this is February. The shoe edition, when we're expecting 5 stars, would come out in August. And Paul said, you get a 5-star shoe, and I'm your man. And I said, look, this is going to be it. He said, yeah, but we have to wait, don't we? We have to wait. However, we got back. I made a visit to both Kmart and Paul during that period in between. But I'm back in the UK, and it's the last week in July. And this is when the magazine is out. And I phoned Paul, can you go and have a look and see if the kiosk, if Runner's World is out? An hour later, he came back. Joe, he said, Aztec's got 5 stars. Oh, crap. That was a moment. If there's a moment when you think,
right. Yeah. So there's one.
That was a moment. That's it. But he said, not only 5 stars with Aztec, also Inca, which is a spike we were making, that got 5 stars. And then he said, Midas, the road racing shoe, that got 5 stars.
Yeah, so you had 3 of them.
And we got to America. We'd now landed, and we got into America.
Yeah. That is absolutely fantastic. How did you, and guys, I know we're tight on time. I'm going to give a shout out, John, Dan, Nicole, Rob. Thank you for joining us today. Please connect with Joe here today. You want to get his book, but I'm telling you, it's phenomenal. Joe, how did you know that Paul Fireman was the one? Was there, there's great quotes in your book about networking, and Dan, you'll love his book, how important that networking, and you just were so relentless. How did you know Paul Fireman was the one?
Number one, he was on my level. We could talk together. He wasn't just talking business. He was talking life. He was talking the need. He was hungry. And even he said, it's wrinkles in the belly that make the difference. Yeah. And so he wanted to change. There was that desire in him. And I could, with one person, with a big company like came out, that was too much. So it was Paul. And Paul did a fantastic job. But as you probably know, reading the book, it was Artemis that really, really hit that gold dust. He really hit.
Yeah.
And of course, the story is LA when his wife was coming back from aerobic classes.
Right.
She was coming back, and he said, "What are you doing?" Because she was full of it, and she said, "Aerobics." I said, "What's that?" And she said, "Well, it's such an exercise into music, and we love." That just lit up Arnold. He went down to have a look at what was going on, saw the instructor in a pair of sneakers. So half of the class in this pair of sneakers, the others not wearing anything. But what hit him and what he came up with was, why don't we make a shoe for this? For women, on a woman's last, in woman's sizes, in nice soft leather, just like a glove. Oh, no, just so sexy, just something that, and they did. And when Jane Fonda bought a pair to wear in her videos, that just took off. From a $9 million business, we became almost a $1 billion business over 5 years. The growth was tremendous. So
that's insane. That's insane. Just the challenges alone of scaling a business that fast in that short a time frame had to be just monumental, but fun because you're doing so many great things.
Well, we had a lot of good people as well, and Stephen came. And Stephen Rubin was a source. He was sourcing the product from South Korea, so that was a great help because he gave Paul a credit line, and that's where the money came from. Stephen was a bit worried at some point when things went to $20 million owing. And Paul is saying, "So what? You give us a credit line, we've got it. We're going to use it." And the whole thing was brilliant, and a lot of good people. We had such a sort of a winning culture. Everybody wanted to be part of that winning culture. So a lot of people worked very hard, and we didn't have to sell much in those days because it was a matter of how do you keep up with the demand, and that was the biggest problem. Getting the demand. We went at one point from 300 million to 900 million in revenue. We were lucky because unfortunately for Nike, they just hit a wall at that point. Most brands go fat and then they sort of dip off, and Nike did that. Gave us, I think it was 3 extra factories in South Korea. So, talk about luck times. These things happen. Okay, we all worked hard, but if you don't get that bit of luck, it can be difficult. And we got some. So it was a great time, and I think everybody enjoyed that growth. That was wonderful. And the reason I left the company in the end was we now become corporate. Once you become corporate, it's like, what am I doing? I'm traveling around the world. I'm traveling the world 3 times every year. And I'm calling at places and being picked up now by a limousine, going to the best hotels, dining at the best restaurants. So, that challenge had gone for me. But, you still love your brand. But the challenge. So it was time.
So awesome.
You bring the right people into the company. And that was it. We had the right people. And that was great. And I could step back and say, job done.
That is awesome, Joe. And I know I want to be mindful of your time. I know you and your wonderful wife, Julie. Julie, thank you. God bless you for setting this up. I know you're super.
Go out and buy the Shoemaker. That's all I can say. Go out and buy the Shoemaker.
this was just a sliver of what the excitement in the book. And Val, she drops that she still has Reeboks from the aerobics.
Still got her high top Reebok aerobic shoes.
You think about, Mick Jagger and Jane Fonda and, Sigourney Weaver and Aliens wearing their Reeboks.
Yeah.
So, Joe, last question, if I could just ask you this real quick. What was it like when did you sit back at that time, when it was becoming corporate and Mick Jagger and all these folks are what was it like that your dream became a global brand? Did you ever think when you and Jeff, two scrappy 20-somethings, started this business from scratch, did you ever dream that you would be one of the most recognized brands in the world?
Well, I think you dreamed that it would be lovely to be there, but the reality was we need to be in business. We need to be doing something. We
need a job.
We earn a living. And then you go step by step. You take another. You take another step. You get a bit lucky. It took me 11 years to get into America from that first start, and that means you've got to have that tenacity. You've got to be willing to keep going back. And some people say, why didn't you give up? In fact, my wife used to say, look, why don't you go and get a proper job?
Go get a job. A proper.
Yeah. First wife, not Julie.
We got you, Julie. We got you.
We got Julie.
Well, hey, I know you have a super tight schedule, Joe. First off, our gratitude, everybody here, Jeff, Dan, Val, Nicole. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yes.
Joe, you are truly a gift. My 78-year-old mother still wears her Reeboks. I still have my rugby boots right here. So, Joe, thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for spending your time, your energy with us. Yes. You are truly an icon. You're an entrepreneurial legend. You're just an inspiration. We admire what you and Jeff did to build your business from scratch. So we salute you. God bless you and Julie. Boy, keep firing on all cylinders, man. You're inspiring all of us everywhere. Guys, go out and connect with Joe. Buy his book. Damon, take it away.
The Shoemaker. Yes. Thanks so much, Kurt. Thanks so much, Joe. Thanks, Julie, for helping get this set up.
Thank you, Julie.
We're out traveling today. If you haven't gotten it, get the Shoemaker. Joe Foster, founder of Reebok. Man, thanks so much for being here today. Thanks, everyone else. We're going to end the broadcast for now and appreciate you all.
It's been an absolute pleasure.